morning, I'm going to show you the typical way that we set up the altar for Sunday morning communion service. So in this cabinet, hanging on a little hook, is a key that fits this cupboard. And the first thing you need to do is gather all the supplies for communion. In this box is all the silver. So, this is called a paten, P-A-T-E-N. It's basically a bread plate. The chalice is in its own little felt bag. Then there are two silver cruets. It's a big one. And a small one. The big one is for wine, and the small one is for water. The other thing that is in here is a box that holds extra bread wafers. Typically on a typical Sunday morning you will not need this because we use one loaf of gluten-free bread and we don't usually need more than that. So this really is for maybe bigger services where we need some extra bread for communion. So I'm going to put that back. So this is the silver that we'll need. Right? And then we have linens that we will need. In this smaller box are what are called purificators. Purificator is basically a napkin. Two purificators. And then in this larger box, we have what are called corporals, which is a larger placemat, basically, which is designed to catch any crumbs that might fall off of the paten. Okay? So those are the linens that we will need. And then we need the stuff that goes over the chalice on the altar. Now we'll set up the hand washing station separately, and I'll give you the official words for that. Currently, we are in the white season. We're in Easter. But depending on, if you look over here, there's a calendar that shows you the color of each day. So whatever the date on the calendar is, it will be colored, color coordinated for whatever color the paraments need to be. So the color that's going to drape over the chalice will match the frontal on the front of the altar and the hangings on the pulpit, etc. Okay? So right now we're in Eastertide, so it's white. There are several components here. There's this stiff board. All right, I'm going to give you the names in a minute. There is something that drapes over, and then there's this fancier stiff board that opens up. Okay, so this is called a pall, P-A-L-L. This is called a veil. And this is called a burse, B-U-R-S-E, burse. I don't know why. So, these are the things that we will need to set up the altar. In another video later, I'm going to show how to properly fold linens, but getting things set up for now is what is our goal. So, oh, you know what I forgot? The altar book. It's the big red one with the fancy cross on the front and lots of colored ribbons. Okay, we'll need that as well. before I carry it out, I need to add water and wine here. The wine is a port in a giant gallon jug. Usually you don't need more than, maybe an inch of wine, even less, because you just need enough to commune anyone who wants to commune the wine, to receive the wine. So not a lot. And the reason you don't want to do a lot is that if it remains in this, it can go back into the bottle. But if I put it into the chalice, it gets consecrated, and it either needs to be consumed or dumped into the piscina, which is the special sink that doesn't go into the septic tank, it goes straight to the ground. Or poured outside on the ground. So, just a little bit of wine. And in this cruet, just water straight from the tap. Not a lot, just a little bit, because it's just getting added to the wine during communion setup. Okay? Now, I'm going to carry everything out to the altar and show you how to set it up. So you'll notice when you come in to set up that there's this bluish-white cloth that lays over the altar. This is affectionately called the bat cloth, and it's really just to keep bat poop off the altar. So you'll want to take that off. And typically what folks do is just lay it in the windowsill over here, where it's not visible, but where you know exactly where it is for you to put back on after Sunday service. Now, someone went ahead and left the corporal on the altar, which is fine, if it's not dirty, if it doesn't need laundered, or if it doesn't have crumbs all over it. So we're going to use the corporal that's already on here. Oh, actually, no, I see a dot of wine, so we're not going to use this. The corporal gets folded a particular way, but again, I'm going to show you that in a different video. So we'll dispense with that one. First thing is the corporal. When you unfold it, make sure that the cross that is embroidered is facing where the priest will stand. Okay? Right in the center of the altar, more toward the edge, because it's the whole point of the corporal is to catch things that might spill or fall. And it makes your job as an altar guild person much easier if it's just this little thing that gets some wine on it rather than the big thing. Next is the chalice. You will notice that there is some emblem, there's a IHS here with a cross. That faces the priest. The purificator has embroidered in it a cross right in the middle. You're just going to drape it over, nothing fancy. And then the paten also has words. This one actually, because we're using a loaf of gluten-free bread, does not go here. I almost did the wrong thing. Next thing is the pall, centered on the chalice, followed by the veil. Depending on what season, the veils have a different design. This one has one cross, kind of like in the same layout that the corporal has, except this cross is going to face out because it's decorative. And you have to hold the pall and adjust things. Looks like it needs to come this way a little. Okay. It's more important that it look good from the front than the back. Then the burse usually has an extra purificator in it just in case, and it's been left in there. That's in case there's a big spill, you know there's an extra. And it just sits right on top. So that's that. Then over here in the windowsill is what's called the missal stand, or the altar book stand. It's going to sit there in the altar book, like that. I set the altar book. I set the ribbons when I come in on Sunday morning, so you don't have to worry about that. Then, the two candlesticks that are sat in the window, they're sat in the window so that the back cover is on. But using as little of your hand as possible to keep the corrosion down. Move the candles back. Candles also need to be filled every Sunday. Again, different video, or maybe I won't even make a video about that. That's best learned on the job because that's quite intense. Or complex, I guess. So these are moved back here. Right? Then the only other thing is that I didn't bring the cruets out. I'm going to go get those in a second. There will be a loaf of gluten-free bread here. And you take that second purificator that you got out and drape it over that. That goes over here. And then the cruets. Remember, the large one is wine, the small one is water. They should sit with the handles facing out. And I'll give you a reason. When the acolyte grabs this and turns to me, the handle's facing me, so we don't have to like juggle it in our hands, and there's less likelihood that it's going to be dropped. So, handles facing out. Okay? The other thing is make sure the large alms basin is here so that whoever's acolyting can collect the alms. And then these are called sanctus spells. They're rung during the sanctus, holy, holy, holy. Just set them right there. So as far as what's on this space here, we're done. That's it. We have a couple more things to do in this area, and then we'll look around for other things that might need done. So the next thing we're going to set up is the lavabo, which is the hand washing station out for the ceremonial liturgical hand washing. So lavabo means I will wash, and it's tradition that the priest says a verse of a psalm during the hand washing, which begins, I will wash. So that's why it's called lavabo. So there is distilled water, and the reason we're using distilled water is because the water is so mineralized here that it gets a lot of crud inside the glass cruet, and it's very hard to clean out. So we're using distilled water just to make it easier on you. And you don't need a lot, just a little bit. Because the acolyte and I will come in and wash our hands with soap and water before we even go to the altar space. This is more liturgical and kind of part of the ceremony of Eucharist. So I'm putting it in this glass cruet. We don't need the stopper. And this is the lavabo bowl, right? It's the larger silver bowl. You'll notice it has a cross and then a memorial. And this is a lavabo towel. Now we only have a couple of these, and you might have to hunt to make sure you can find it. But how I know it's a lavabo towel is that it is oblong. It is rectangle, not square. It's the only linen that we use that is not square. Okay? So we will use lavabo towel. So we have these three things, and we'll go out there. So we'll come over to this side table, and the acolyte helps with the hand washing. So what you'll want to do is take the lavabo bowl, find the cross, point it outward, just because it's pretty, and we might as well see it. The towel on the right-hand side, along with the cruet of water. Because what the acolyte does is drapes the towel over their arm and pours water over my hands, and then I grab the towel from their arm. Okay? So we want both of those things on this side of the bowl. So, like so. And that's it for this space, save for making sure the candles are filled. Okay, so the next important thing is setting the reading book for the readings for this coming Sunday. So this calendar that hangs in the sacristy, that gives you the color of the day, you'll notice white for all the Sundays in Eastertide. So Sunday, this coming Sunday is the 22nd of May. On that date, it says down here, the 6th Sunday of Easter, right? So usually, and I know right now, hanging in the sacristy is a little post-it that says, we are in year C. The lectionary cycle is on a 3-year cycle, and so you'll need to know what the actual Sunday is. So this is the 6th Sunday of Easter, and the lectionary year, year C. So we know it's Easter 6C. So we come over here. Again, you can put this cloth, whoops, you can put this cloth with those other cloths in the windowsill to be put back on after service. Keeps dust and bat poop off of things. This has all the readings for Sunday mornings, okay? So, for A, B, C. So if it's the 6th Sunday of Easter, down here at the bottom, I flip through and I see 5 Easter, year C, which means that was last week. And I flip here, and you'll see 6th Sunday of Easter. And so you just want to make sure that the ribbon is where that is set up. Now, the other thing to remember, or to know, is that sometimes readings are repeated throughout the year. And if they're repeated, they only print them in here once to save paper. So you may see C page something or other. So if you do that, that's why there are 2 ribbons. So you would mark both places, right? So that when somebody goes down, they say, oh, the second reading is in a different spot. They know to turn to that second ribbon and find the reading there, right? Then we also read out of that gospel book, which I will show you in a second. This is the gospel book. On Sundays where there is communion, the priest or deacon or whomever the clergy person is assigned to do the reading will read the gospel from this, not here. So it's set up the exact same way. And you'll see, 6th Sunday of Easter. I just want to make sure that that ribbon is where it needs to be, and then follow me. Right there. Those are the 2 readings that you'll need to set, but you do not need to worry about setting the ribbons in the altar book. I do that in the morning.